Hey there, it's God-given. This is a guide on how to not burn out and have fun in Wuthering Waves. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen a ton of videos in your feed on the topics such as don't do these 10 mistakes, how to be the most efficient with your stamina, best build for X character, etc, etc. The thing is, the game isn't even out yet and you're already getting into the mindset of metagaming. Now, if you're a person who's really into all of this stuff and the way you have fun is by competing with others, being the first in everything, being the most efficient, then kudos to you, that's absolutely fine and you should not be bothered by what I say in this video next. However, if you're leaning more to the casual side of things, but constantly find yourself feeling some form of anxiety about not being efficient enough, then this video is for you. The first thing I want you to do is ask yourself this question: what is your goal when playing the game? All of you will have a different answer, but I'll generalize them into these three main categories. 1. I want to grind hard and beat the hardest content in the game ASAP. 2. I want to get my favorite characters, but don't really care about beating all content. And 3. I just want to casually play at my own pace and do whatever I want at the moment. I'll call the players from the first category the meta players, the second category the regular players, and the third category the casual players. Also note that these categories are not absolute and they are more like different points at the scale, from casual player to meta player. If you're a meta player, as I've already said, feel free to watch all the guides you need, do all the re-rolling that you want for whatever characters you need, grind away and have fun. Don't let other people discourage you by calling you a meta slave or other stuff like that. Games are made to have fun. If your way of having fun is to play efficient, then do it. If you're the casual player, I highly advise you to not watch any guides, playthroughs, or any content that's related to the gaming process in general at the start of the game. Obviously this is subjective, but from my experience 99% of the time when I am going into the game blind, I have the most amount of fun possible. Just explore and do the story and quests at your own pace. Now, when you get to quote-unquote late game content, you have a choice, to give a damn about it or not. If you don't care, then great, just do whatever you want, wait for new content to release, and enjoy the game. If you do care about late game content, however, you probably are turning from the third category of players to the second one, and I'll cover it in the next section of the video. The regular players are probably going to be the most common and diverse category. So my advice for you would be, start off as the casual player, don't watch guides, but have a little plan in mind. Just think about what characters you want to get and work from there. I'll use myself as an example. I really like Jianshin's and Yinlin's designs, so I'm going to be getting both of them, no matter how good or bad they will end up being meta-wise. Wuthering Waves is a game that requires a lot more skill expression than most other gacha games, so the meta won't matter as much as in other gachas. There's a lot of talk about how Verena is the best unit to pick on the standard selector banner because she's a very good healer/support unit. I personally will not really care about it at the start of the game and get Jianshin on the selector banner and then wait for Yinlin's banner to pull her, because I don't really care about the meta in the early game. Now, let's take another example. You're a player who somewhat cares about the long-term strength of your account, and at the beginning of the game, you want to pull Jian, and you want to get Verena because she's a very solid unit, but you also like Ling Yang's design, even though his strength relative to other standard banner characters is a bit lower, at least if the devs won't buff him, which they very well can. My suggestion for you would be to hold on to your standard pulls and only pull on Jian's banner for the start of the game. At the start, there's a lot of pulls you can get by just completing the story and exploring the world, so you'll get enough pulls to get a 5-star pity relatively quickly. Now, if you win the 50-50 to Jian, it's a W and you can get either Verena or Ling Yang on the selector banner. If you lost the 50-50 to either Verena or Ling Yang, it's also not that bad, because you can now choose the other unit on the selector banner and you can try to grind the pulls from the story to guarantee yourself a Jian. If you lost your 50-50 to a character you didn't want, that's unfortunate, but you can at least grind enough pulls for Jian. The TLDR for the regular players is the following. Decide which characters you like, depending on your situation, make a plan of how to properly pull for them and execute it. Now, when you reach the stage of the game when you've completed most of the story, you've got some union levels up, and your eyes start itching when they see the endgame content, it's time to think a bit about how to build your characters. I would recommend you to read how the abilities of your resonators work, what stats they scale off of, etc. After doing that, watch a guide from a guide maker you vibe with, but don't get too much into the details. Just figure out what stats you need to build and what characters work well with your favorite characters. I think that getting into the heavy theory crafting territory eats away from the fun of discovering what works and what doesn't by yourself, so try different team comps and try to discover combos on your own. Now, for the burnout part of the video, if you're a regular or casual players, aside from what I've said before, don't grind the overworld too much and you'll most likely not burn out from the game. Live service gacha games are marathons, not sprints. You do not have to give your 200% of effort and time to them. Play at your own pace, explore, collect mints, and have fun. Now, for the more hardcore grindy players out there, first of all, I envy the amount of time you have to play. Secondly, I'm afraid some level of burnout is unavoidable and you pretty much know that already. Most likely, you're going to be done with all the content in the game very quickly and have nothing to do in it but grind echoes and spend stamina until we get more content. At one point, this will eat into you and you will feel the burnout. I would suggest just chilling out a bit, finding yourself in another game to play while you wait for the new content. Just spend the daily stamina and don't grind too much. Following these steps, I believe that you as a player will have the most amount of fun possible. You will not burn out from playing, and you will be able to not feel anxiety about being less efficient than you should be, quote unquote. That is it for this video. If you enjoyed my yapping and would like to watch more guides like this in the future, consider subscribing and liking the video. Write down whatever thoughts you have about my points in the comment section if you feel like sharing. Thanks for watching.